High Admiral Vexthor stood at the observation deck of the Verax Empire's flagship Eternal Dominion, his iridescent scales reflecting the pale blue light of the primitive planet below. Earth. Even its name lacked imagination, he thought, mandibles clicking in barely contained disdain. Behind him, the bridge crew maintained a respectful distance as they monitored the readings from their initial survey. High Admiral, Sub-Commander Ryleth approached, her crystalline exoskeleton chiming softly with each step. The preliminary analysis of their defensive capabilities is complete. Vexthor's secondary eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of mild interest. Proceed. The humans appear to rely primarily on chemical propulsion and crude projectile weapons. Their most advanced installations utilize what they call nuclear deterrents, primitive fission devices. Their orbital presence is minimal, consisting mainly of communication satellites and basic observation platforms. A low, resonating chuckle emerged from Vexthor's throat, and the Supreme Command considered this species a potential threat. Perhaps our intelligence division needs recalibration. He turned to face his subordinate. Show me their primary military installations. The holographic display materialized between them, showing various human military bases across the planet's surface. Tanks, aircraft carriers, missile silos, all hopelessly obsolete by Verax standards. Their most advanced fighter jets still required atmosphere to function, and their space program was barely capable of reaching their own moon. They cluster their forces so openly, Vexthor observed. No quantum shielding, no phase shift defenses, not even basic gravitic repulsion fields. They're practically inviting orbital bombardment. There is one peculiarity, High Admiral, Ryleth noted, manipulating the display. They maintain an unusually high level of redundancy in their systems, multiple backup facilities, distributed command structures, and something they refer to as contingency planning. The desperate measures of a species aware of its technological inadequacies, Vexthor dismissed. Have they responded to our presence? They've initiated what they call diplomatic channels. Their United Nations Assembly has requested a formal meeting. How quaint. They still operate under the delusion of separate nation-states. Vexthor's primary eyes narrowed. Very well. We shall grant them their meeting. Prepare my diplomatic escort. Let us see how these primitives handle direct contact with a truly advanced civilization. Hours later, in the United Nations General Assembly, Vexthor stood before the gathered human representatives. The chamber's architecture, while impressive by human standards, seemed absurdly primitive to his enhanced senses. He could detect the electromagnetic emissions from their recording devices, the infrared signatures of their nervous bodies, the chemical markers of their fear and anticipation. People of Earth, he began, his translator converting his complex harmonic speech into their simple verbal language. The Verax Empire has observed your world for some time. Your species stands at a crucial juncture. You have achieved basic spaceflight capabilities, yet remain bound by outdated concepts of national sovereignty and limited by your primitive technology. The human delegates stirred uneasily. A woman in a blue uniform, Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force, stood to address him. High Admiral Vexthor, we appreciate the Verax Empire's interest in Earth. However, we must emphasize that humanity values its independence. Any relationship between our civilizations must be based on mutual respect. Vexthor's scales rippled in amusement. Respect. You speak of respect while your most advanced weapons would barely scratch the paint on our smallest scout ship. Your species' achievement of basic atomic theory is admirable, but you remain centuries behind true civilization. The Verax Empire offers you a choice. Accept our guidance and protection, or face the consequences of your defiance. Admiral Chen's expression remained neutral, but Vexthor's enhanced senses detected a subtle shift in her biochemical signatures. Not fear, as he expected, but something else. Satisfaction. I see, she replied carefully. And if we choose to maintain our independence, Then we shall demonstrate why the Verax Empire spans 50 star systems, while you struggle to reach your own moon. Vex Thor's voice carried the weight of centuries of conquest. You have 3 of your Earth days to submit your response. Choose wisely. As he turned to leave, his sensitive audio receptors caught a whispered conversation between Chen and another human official. Is everything in place? All systems ready. They're exactly as arrogant as we hoped. Vex Thor dismissed the exchange. What could these primitives possibly have planned? Their most advanced technology was little more than children's toys compared to Verax's capabilities. As he transported back to his flagship, he composed his report to the Supreme Command. Earth would make an excellent addition to the Empire, requiring minimal military effort to subjugate. How wrong he was. In 3 days, the Verax Empire would learn why humans had a saying: appearances can be deceiving. 3 days passed like a held breath. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the underground command center of Luna Base Alpha, watching the massive holographic display that showed the positions of the Verax fleet. They had arranged themselves in a classic attack formation, their ships forming an elegant spiral pattern that would allow them to strike Earth from multiple vectors simultaneously. Status report, she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the air. Dr. Marcus Wong, head of Earth's Defense Technology Division, looked up from his neural interface terminal. Project Chimera is online. All subsystems functioning at optimal levels. The Verax still haven't detected anything unusual about our primitive satellite network. Of course they haven't, Chen smiled. They're too busy looking for what they expect to see. The command center hummed with controlled energy as technicians and officers monitored streams of data flowing through quantum-encrypted channels. On the surface, Earth appeared to be scrambling to mount a desperate defense, moving obsolete military hardware into position and launching what seemed to be last-minute satellite deployments. Message from the Verax flagship, announced Communications Officer Patel. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Right on schedule, Chen nodded. Send our response. On board the Eternal Dominion, High Admiral Vex Thor received Earth's transmission with anticipation. The human message was brief. We respectfully decline. Such foolishness, he sighed, mandibles clicking in disappointment. Begin the attack sequence. Target their primary military installations first. Let's show them the price of defiance. The Verax fleet moved with practiced precision. Energy weapons powered up, their crystalline matrices humming with enough power to level cities. The first salvos launched, streams of concentrated plasma and graviton beams streaking toward Earth's atmosphere. They never reached their targets. Where there had been empty space, geometric patterns of light suddenly blossomed. The Verax weapons splashed harmlessly against shields that shouldn't have existed, their energy dispersing in fractal patterns across the protective barrier. Impossible. Vex Thor's scales bristled in shock. They have no shield technology. Our intelligence confirmed it. High Admiral, Ryleth's voice carried an edge of panic. Those aren't standard shields. The energy patterns, they're adapting, learning from each hit. In the Luna Base Command Center, Dr. Wong allowed himself a small grin. Quantum neural shields performing exactly as designed. Each attack is making them stronger as the artificial intelligence learns and adapts to Verax weapons technology. The Verax fleet adjusted quickly, changing tactics and targeting what appeared to be weak points in Earth's orbital defense grid. But with each strike, the shields grew more efficient at dispersing the energy. What had started as a simple geometric pattern evolved into an intricate dance of light and energy, a living defense system that anticipated attacks before they landed. Launch the second phase, Chen ordered. Across Earth's surface, what the Verax had dismissed as primitive missile silos began to open. But instead of chemical rockets, columns of pure light erupted into the sky. The seemingly empty satellites in orbit suddenly transformed, mechanical components flowing like liquid metal as they reconfigured into their true forms. By the first egg, Vex Thor whispered, watching in horror as Earth's true defensive network revealed itself. "What are they?" "Sir," a sensor operator called out, "we're detecting quantum signatures we've never seen before. The humans are using some kind of... The translator must be malfunctioning. It says they're using crystallized spacetime as a weapon platform." In the space around Earth, thousands of points of light winked into existence. Each one was a quantum node, a tear in reality itself, controlled and stabilized by technology the Verax had thought impossible for humans to achieve. The nodes began to pulse in sequence, creating a web of quantum-entangled energy that encompassed the entire Verax fleet. "You know what your greatest mistake was?" Admiral Chen's voice came through on all Verax frequencies. "You assumed that because we didn't show you our advanced technology, we didn't have any. The truth is, we've had most of this for decades. We just preferred to keep it in reserve for special occasions." The quantum web activated. Verax ships found their advanced propulsion systems suddenly useless, their weapons unable to generate the necessary energy fields. They were trapped in a maze of altered spacetime, their supposedly superior technology rendered impotent by principles they barely understood. "This is impossible," Vexthor snarled. "You're a primitive species. You barely achieved spaceflight." "Oh, that." Chen's voice carried a note of amusement. "We found it useful to maintain certain appearances. Makes it so much more interesting when overconfident empires try to subjugate us. Now, shall we discuss terms of surrender, or would you like to see what our actual weapons can do?" As if to emphasize her point, one of Earth's transformed satellites approached a Verax scout ship. It fired what appeared to be a simple beam of light. The scout ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, its very atoms unbound by forces that the Verax had never dreamed possible. In the Luna Base Command Center, Chen watched as the Verax fleet tried desperately to break free of the quantum web. Their ships fired weapons wildly, each shot absorbed and redirected by the adaptive shields, making Earth's defenses stronger with every attempt. "Should we show them the rest?" Dr. Wong asked, his fingers hovering over the controls that would activate Earth's more exotic weapon systems. Chen considered for a moment. "No, I think they're getting the message. Sometimes the best weapon is the one you don't have to use." She opened a channel to the Verax flagship. "Hi, Admiral Vexthor. I believe it's time we had a real discussion about the nature of advanced civilization. Your empire's experience might be valuable to us. As equals, of course." The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Verax weapons powering down across their entire fleet. High Admiral Vexthor's scales had lost their luster, fading to a dull gray as he watched his mighty fleet suspended helplessly in Earth's quantum web. But the Verax Empire hadn't conquered 50 star systems by surrendering at the first sign of resistance. With a gesture that sent his command medallions chiming against his ceremonial armor, he activated the emergency protocols. "Launch the Phoenix Protocol," he commanded. "Let's see how their quantum tricks handle a simultaneous mass-temporal shift." Throughout the Verax fleet, emergency systems engaged. Each ship's quantum core began to pulse with energy, attempting to shift slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. It was a desperate maneuver, one that risked burning out their engines permanently, but it might break them free of Earth's trap. In Luna Base, alarms blared. "Admiral," Dr. Wong called out, "they're attempting a mass-temporal shift. If they succeed, they could break free of the quantum containment field." Chen's expression remained calm. "Exactly as predicted. Initiate Operation Checkmate." As the Verax ships began their temporal shift, they encountered something unexpected. Instead of breaking free, they found themselves in what appeared to be thousands of parallel timelines simultaneously. Each ship existed in multiple states at once, their crews experiencing countless variations of the same moment. What is this?" Vexthor demanded, his own voice echoing back to him from slightly different versions of himself. "Quantum superposition on a macroscopic scale," Chen's voice replied, echoing through all timelines at once. We've been studying your temporal shift technology for years. Did you really think we wouldn't have a counter for it? In the command center, Dr. Wong explained to his staff, we're holding their ships in a state of quantum uncertainty. They exist in all possible states simultaneously, unable to collapse into any single timeline until we allow it. The Verax fleet hung suspended in this impossible state, their mighty warships reduced to probability clouds in space. But Vexthor had one final card to play. With a command that rippled across all timelines, he activated the Verax Empire's most closely guarded weapon, the Reality Ripper. Massive energy signatures bloomed across the sensor displays as reality itself began to tear around the Verax ships. The Reality Ripper was designed to forcibly separate a volume of space from the normal universe, creating a pocket dimension where Verax ships could regroup and launch attacks from outside normal spacetime. Chen watched the energy readings with interest. They're persistent, I'll give them that. Dr. Wong, shall we show them why we let them deploy their Reality Ripper? As the reality tiers began to form around the Verax fleet, they suddenly found their own technology being turned against them. The tiers didn't create escape routes. Instead, they began to fold back on themselves, creating recursive loops of spacetime that trapped the Verax ships even more completely. You see, Chen explained to the increasingly desperate Verax commander, we discovered the principles behind your Reality Ripper technology decades ago. But we found it crude, inefficient. We refined it, learned to control it with precision you never imagined possible. Right now, your ships are trapped in pocket universes of their own making, each one perfectly contained and controlled by our systems. In a final act of defiance, Vexthor ordered his ships to overload their quantum cores, hoping to break free through sheer force. The energy release was spectacular, rippling across multiple dimensions simultaneously. But instead of breaking the human's hold, something even more remarkable happened. The quantum web surrounding Earth began to absorb the energy, channeling it through the crystallized spacetime nodes. The entire defense network lit up like a constellation, each point of light pulsing with captured power. Thank you for the energy donation, Chen said, genuine appreciation in her voice. Our quantum capacitors were running a bit low. Now shall we demonstrate what your own power looks like when properly applied? The absorbed energy was redirected through Earth's defense grid, transformed and refined by technology that the Verax had never dreamed possible. Each satellite node began emitting precise quantum pulses, creating a cascading wave of altered reality that swept through the Verax fleet. Ships that had existed in multiple timelines simultaneously were forced back into single quantum states, but not necessarily their original ones. Some emerged with their hull configurations altered, others with their internal systems completely rearranged. All of them were now effectively disabled, their technology transformed by forces they couldn't comprehend. What have you done to our ships? Vexthor asked, his voice barely a whisper. We simply helped them achieve their most optimal quantum states, Wong explained, his academic tone incongruous with the scale of what had just happened. Your ships have been evolved, you might say. Their new configurations are actually far more energy efficient, though I admit the weapon systems didn't survive the transformation. Consider it a forced upgrade to peaceful technology. In the Luna Base Command Center, Chen watched as the once mighty Verax fleet hung powerless in space, their ships transformed into gleaming monuments to human ingenuity. The quantum web began to retract, leaving only a thin barrier of containment fields around each vessel. Now then, she addressed Vexthor. I believe we were about to have a discussion about the true meaning of advanced civilization. Your empire has much experience to share, and we have much to teach you about the dangers of underestimating primitive species. As the situation stabilized, Dr. Wong approached Chen with a datapad. Should we tell them about our other defensive systems, the ones we haven't had to activate yet? Chen smiled. Let's save something for the diplomatic negotiations. Sometimes the most effective power is the power you don't have to demonstrate. In the aftermath of the quantum battle, High Admiral Vex Thor found himself in an unusual position, sitting across from Admiral Chen in a conference room deep within Luna Base. The chamber's walls seemed to shift subtly, patterns flowing like liquid crystal, a casual demonstration of human mastery over matter itself. "You're wondering why we invited you here," Chen said, pouring what appeared to be ordinary water into 2 glasses. "Why we didn't simply destroy your fleet when we had the chance." Vex Thor's scales rippled with suppressed emotion. The thought had crossed my mind. Your technology clearly surpasses ours in ways we never imagined possible. Yet you chose to disable rather than destroy. "Violence is easy," Chen replied, sliding 1 blast toward him. "Understanding is harder. Tell me, Admiral, in all your empire's conquests, how often did you try to understand the species you encountered?" The water in Vex Thor's glass suddenly transformed into his species' preferred nutrient solution. He stared at it, mandibles twitching in surprise. "Molecular reconstruction in real time," Chen explained. "Just one of many technologies we developed while studying your empire's activities across the galaxy. We've been watching for longer than you realize." In orbit above Earth, the transformed Verax fleet hung suspended in space, their ships now more artwork than weapons. Dr. Wang's voice came through the quantum comm. "Admiral, the fleet's neural networks have been fully integrated with our systems. The crew integration protocols are proceeding as planned." Crew integration. Vex Thor's secondary eyes widened. "What have you done to my people?" "Nothing harmful," Chen assured him. "We're simply sharing knowledge. Right now, every member of your crew is experiencing a direct neural interface with our educational databases. They're learning our true history, understanding who we really are. Tell me, Admiral, would you like to know why humans developed such powerful technology while maintaining the appearance of primitiveness?" She gestured, and the room's walls became transparent, revealing the stark beauty of the lunar landscape. Humanity has a saying: "The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist." We learned early in our development that appearing weak while being strong was far more advantageous than displaying our power openly. "But why?" Vex Thor demanded. "Your species could have dominated the galaxy." "Domination was never our goal," Chen said softly. "We watched as empire after empire rose and fell, each believing their technology made them invincible. The Verax Empire isn't the first to discover that appearances can be deceiving. We developed our technology not to conquer, but to protect, to ensure that humanity would never fall victim to the kind of imperial ambitions your civilization represents." In orbit, the Verax crews were experiencing something unprecedented. Through the neural interfaces, they were seeing Earth's true history, centuries of technological development carried out in secret, the careful maintenance of a primitive facade, the development of weapons so advanced they bordered on magical. "Your entire civilization is built on deception," Vex Thor accused, but his voice lacked conviction. "No," Chen corrected. "Our civilization is built on understanding. We deceived you because you gave us no choice. Your empire's history of conquest and subjugation made it clear that open dialogue wasn't possible. So we showed you what you expected to see, until you forced our hand." Dr. Wang's voice came through again. "Neural integration at 85%. The crew's resistance is dropping as they begin to understand. Some are already requesting permanent access to our educational databases. You see," Chen continued, "we didn't just develop superior technology. We developed superior understanding. Of physics, yes, but more importantly, of psychology. We knew exactly how your empire would react to finding what appeared to be a primitive civilization. Your own prejudices made you blind to the truth." The walls of the conference room shifted again, displaying scenes from across Earth's surface. What Vex Thor had dismissed as primitive cities were transformed before his eyes, quantum fields dropping to reveal architecture that defied his understanding of physics. Vehicles that had appeared to run on chemical combustion now flew on gravitic drives so advanced they made Verax technology look ancient. Your empire prides itself on technological superiority, Chen observed. But true advancement isn't just about weapons or energy systems. It's about wisdom, knowing when to show your strength and when to hide it. Understanding that the most powerful position is the one your opponent doesn't know you hold. Vexthor slumped in his chair, his proud posture finally breaking. The supreme command. They'll never believe this. They'll send more fleets. No, Chen smiled. They won't. Because right now, every member of your crew is learning the full truth about humanity. When your ships return home, and they will return, once we've finished upgrading them, your people will understand. The question is, Admiral, do you understand? The room's walls became mirrors, showing Vexthor his own reflection. His scales had begun to regain their luster, but something was different. The neural interface was affecting him too, though he hadn't even realized it was active. Your empire stands at a crossroads, Chen said quietly. You can continue on your path of conquest, facing opponents who may be far more than they appear, or you can choose a different way. Humanity is willing to share our knowledge, to help the Verax Empire truly advance, not through dominance, but through understanding. Dr. Wang's final report came through. Neural integration complete. Crew transformation protocol successful. They're ready. Chen stood, her uniform rippling with quantum patterns that had been invisible before. The choice is yours, Admiral. What will it be? Another futile attempt at conquest, or the beginning of true civilization? In the silence that followed, Vexthor realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their quantum technology or their reality warping devices. It was their patience, their willingness to appear weak until the perfect moment to demonstrate their strength. And in that realization, he began to understand what true power really meant. The Supreme Council of the Verax Empire convened in their grand chamber on the homeworld, their ceremonial scales gleaming under the light of 3 suns. Before them stood High Admiral Vexthor, his once proud fleet now transformed into something beyond their comprehension, hovering in orbit above their capital world as a testament to human ingenuity. You mean to tell us? First speaker Kivos rumbled, her ancient scales dark with anger, that not only did Earth defeat our most advanced fleet, but they've been technologically superior to us for centuries. That they deliberately maintained the appearance of primitiveness. Not just superior, Vexthor replied, his voice steady. Different. They approached technological advancement from a perspective we never considered. He gestured, activating the neural interface technology the humans had gifted him. The chamber filled with holographic displays showing Earth's true capabilities. In Luna Base, Admiral Chen watched the proceedings through their quantum observation network. Dr. Wang stood beside her, monitoring the status of the transformed Varax ships. They're about to show them everything, he noted. Are we sure this is wise? Knowledge freely given is more powerful than knowledge taken by force, Chen replied. That's always been our way. In the Verax Council chamber, Vexthor continued his presentation. Humanity developed their technology in secret not out of fear, but out of wisdom. They watched as civilizations like ours rose and fell, each believing their technological superiority made them invincible. They chose a different path. The displays showed Earth's hidden cities, their quantum-powered infrastructure, their mastery over reality itself. But more importantly, they showed something the Varax had never considered: peaceful applications of advanced technology, ways to improve life rather than wage war. Their neural integration protocols didn't just teach us about their technology, Vexthor explained. They showed us their history, their philosophy, their understanding of true power. The humans could have destroyed us at any moment. Instead, they chose to teach us. First speaker Kivos leaned forward, her scales shifting colors with intense emotion. And what of our empire? Our destiny to rule the galaxy. Perhaps, a new voice echoed through the chamber. It's time to reconsider what destiny means. Admiral Chen's hologram materialized in the center of the council chamber, her presence a demonstration of human technological capability. The Verax counselors stirred uneasily, but she continued. Your empire stands at a crossroads. You've built your civilization on the principle that technological superiority grants the right to rule. We're offering you a chance to build something greater. The chamber's walls transformed, showing visions of possible futures. In one, the Verax Empire continued its path of conquest, eventually encountering other species who, like humanity, were far more than they appeared. In another, the Empire evolved, using its tremendous resources and capabilities to uplift rather than subjugate. The universe is vast, Chen continued, and full of wonders we've only begun to understand. Humanity spent centuries appearing weak while growing strong, because we learned an essential truth. True power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when not to. Dr. Wang's voice came through her neural link. Admiral, we're detecting quantum fluctuations from the Verax homeworld. They're accessing the deeper levels of our educational database. Good, Chen replied silently. Let them see everything. The Verax Council watched in stunned silence as humanity's true history unfolded before them. They saw how Earth had developed quantum technology not to wage war, but to understand the fundamental nature of reality. They witnessed how humans had chosen to appear primitive, while quietly advancing beyond anything the Verax had imagined possible. Your fleet hasn't been destroyed, Chen assured them. It's been evolved. Every ship, every piece of technology we transformed, is now more advanced than anything your empire has ever created. But more importantly, they're tools of creation rather than destruction. First speaker, Kivos found her voice. And what price do you demand for this? Evolution. Understanding. Chen replied simply. The price is understanding. We ask that you take what we've shown you and use it wisely. The galaxy doesn't need another empire built on force. It needs civilizations willing to grow, to learn, to understand that true power comes from wisdom. Vexthor stepped forward. I've seen what humanity can do. I've experienced their neural integration protocols. They could have dominated us completely, erased our civilization with technology we can barely comprehend. Instead, they chose to teach us, to help us evolve. The chamber fell silent as the council processed this information. Finally, Kivos spoke again, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of tradition. And if we refuse this, evolution, then we return to our previous state, Chen said calmly. Humanity continues to appear primitive, watching from the shadows as your empire eventually encounters others like us. The choice, as always, is yours. In Luna Base, Dr. Wang checked the final readings. Neural transformation across the Verax civilization is proceeding smoothly. Their collective consciousness is shifting towards understanding rather than conquest. Chen nodded, watching as the Verax Council debated their future. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning a war, but in preventing one. Humanity spent centuries preparing for this moment, not to fight, but to teach. The first speaker rose, her scales now shimmering with colors that reflected deep understanding. The Verax Empire accepts humanity's offer. We choose evolution over conquest, wisdom over force. As the announcement echoed across Verax space, Chen smiled. This was why humanity had hidden their true nature for so long, not out of fear, but out of hope. Hope that when the moment came, they could transform potential enemies into allies through understanding rather than force. Welcome, she said to the assembled council, to the true dawn of interstellar civilization. Together, we have much to learn and even more to discover. In the depths of space, the transformed Verax ships pulsed with new energy, their quantum cores now aligned with principles their creators were only beginning to understand. Earth's long masquerade had ended, not in war, but in enlightenment. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, other civilizations watched and waited, wondering when humanity would reveal their true nature to them as well.